Good evening. Calling the Antioch Police Oversight Commission meeting to order. Can I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Elikwashi, Commissioner Mitchell, Commissioner Kennedy,
Present.
Commissioner Lacioja,
Present.
Vice Chair Williams,
Present.
and Chair Taylor.
Present.
We have a quorum with Commissioner Mitchell absent and Commissioner Elikwashi.
Thank you.
Thank
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? For the consent calendars, recommended that we continue the meeting minutes of October 6, 2025. Is there a motion to continue the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can we have a vote, please? Mine's not on. Mm-mm. Nope. It says tap anywhere to enter on the screen, but then there's nothing. Continue.
And I just want to point out for the record, for some reason it says that Joseph Vigil is one of the commissioners up on the screen. He is,
He
Chief
is
Vigil
not
is not a voting member of the commission, so I feel like that should be changed.
Mm-mm.
I think it's.
Uh-oh.
And mine won't turn off. And my microphone won't turn off, so.
There it goes. Now okay. Thank you. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. On to new business. Police Chief Vigil's report out. We're going to be starting with the IA Investigations Quarterly Report.
Good evening. It looks like the schedule got moved around a little bit. Sir? I don't think I need, oh yeah, I might need it. So before we get into the quarterly stats, I'll just give you the update first. Current police department staffing is we're standing at 83 sworn, with 1 on long-term injury leave and 1 on long-term military leave. We have 2 recruits graduating the academy next Friday, followed by another recruit graduating in the middle of December. We have hopefully 8 recruits starting the next Alco and Contra Costa Academy after the holidays in January. I guess I'll just kind of run down the list. We'll start first with the Internal Affairs Quarterly Report. See if I can get these to tab over. So currently, 2025 year to date, we have 52 open cases. These involve citizen complaints and internal affairs complaints, which are our internally generated complaints. The numbers don't line up because keep in mind, it's 2025 year to date, and some cases are already closed. So that's why 39 plus 14 doesn't equal what it should. It's because the open cases are what's left year to date thus far that have not been closed. And then here are our open cases right now outside of 2025. We have one case open from 2020, one case open for 2021, one in 2023, and one in 2024. And the 2024 one should be closed up here pretty quick. We're just waiting to get the results back from the independent firm. Typically, the IAs, we talked about this earlier this year, that involve officer-involved shootings or leafy cases take a couple of years to wrap up, just because not only does the district attorney's office have to do their investigation, but if there's an outside entity like the California Department of Justice, they have to do their investigation. And I think we all know their priorities are not our priorities. So some of these investigations take a couple of years. And then on the back end, when we get everything that we need from them, then we start our internal investigation, which is contracted out to a firm. So these might be open, these leafies and this OAS might be open for quite some time. Any questions?
So you had just mentioned that we've got the 52 open cases, and that you pointed out that 39 and 14 doesn't add up to 52. So I'm assuming that 39 and 14 are cases that were open but that are now closed?
Or in the process of getting
Or
closed.
in the process
Yes.
of being closed? Okay.
So this number will continue to change as we work our way through the year. I just got another batch back from our outside investigators that I have to go through and need to be dispoed out and closed as well. So this number will change before the end of the week.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a quick question. Are you able to share what the nature of the citizens' complaints? Are you able to share that? Because I think 39 is pretty high.
Yeah, I can. Citizen complaints are complaints that come from citizens. And I think people forget they're not just against police officers. It's against any of our staff. So CSOs, dispatchers, animal services, records. Those are the statistics for the entire police department, not just police officers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're gonna go through each of the sections before we do like public comment, just, okay. So you can continue.
So I'll go over the crime statistics presentation. NIBR's crime data are electronically reported at the conclusion of the last day of each month. The NIBR's data are collected from the offenses and associated details contained in a police report. Therefore, the NIBR's data is not submitted until the police report is completed and has gone through the audit and approval process. The progression from responding to an incident to submitting NIBR's data involves numerous steps, and depending on the extent of the investigation, can take a significant amount of time. To provide crime stat data to the public as expeditially as we can, the crime stats presented on this page are based on the unaudited RMS data gathered from police reports throughout all steps of the report writing process, and are therefore subject to change until records audit and NIBR's validation is complete. So kind of I'll break it down into three areas that the audit happens in, and I'll talk about each one. So the first thing that happens is there's a crime or an incident that will require an officer to conduct an interview, conduct an investigation, and write a report. The second step would be the supervisor review. During this phase, we see report corrections, crime corrections, changes in the report or NIBR's crime codes, and follow-up that has to happen, which can change the crime type. The third step is the records audit. They fix all the NIBR's errors, they validate all the data, and they do the final review for everything that goes into the NIBR's collection, along with our crime analysts. Crime stats for police reports submitted to NIBR's are tallied based on the date of incident and occurrence. For example, if a crime was reported to APD in January, but the comprehensive investigation and report approval process did not conclude until March, the data would not be submitted to the Cal DOJ NIBR's until the end of March submission period. Once the March NIBR's submission is accepted, the crime stat data from January would be adjusted to include the newly submitted offenses. Thus, NIBR's crime stat data is fluid and subject to change as additional NIBR's information is provided to the DOJ. The annual crime data is not static until the police reports for the year have been audited, submitted, and validated by NIBR's. So I think you've all heard me either in here or in a city council meeting talk about, hey, we have to look at the data, we have to look at the data. By the time everything gets finalized, tracked, verified, and submitted, it could take a couple of months. So when we get, especially more so towards the end of the year, but not so much when we do the mid-year crime statistics, we're looking at April into May sometimes before we have final numbers. And it just depends on what cases are outstanding, what has to get fixed, what record staffing looks like, and what our analyst staffing looks like. Because they're all the ones who go in and validate this stuff and crunch the numbers for NIBR's. So it is very fluid and does change throughout the year. So it's very hard to pinpoint the crime stats because you have that adjustment period for the open cases or the cases that still need some follow-up to be done.
Can you remind us what NIBRS stands for?
Of course, the national. No, you just put me on the spot.
I'm sorry. I was wondering myself. So.
No, it's all right. I can get it to you. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So it sounds like we could be in, that at any given time, there'll be an incident and it'll be recorded as X. And then after further investigation and further analysis, et cetera, the crime or the statistic that started out as X might be changed to Y or Z, depending on information or depending on an outside investigation, or if it's something that somebody else has to be involved in. Am I understanding that correctly?
Somewhat, to some degree, yes. So I use a perfect example of a reclassification. I go somewhere and, hey, this crime gets classified as a burglary into an automobile. Well, through the interviews, through talking to the owner, you learn, hey, I left the car unlocked. That's not a burglary to an automobile. At that point, it's a petty theft. So then that 459 auto would have to be reclassified as a 484, and then whatever subcategory theft that occurs in. Same thing with 10852s, the tampering with the cars versus the theft of the car. Through interviews or talking to the owner, an officer could initially take a report and then later learn, okay, it's really this crime. We see it a lot with crimes with persons. Assaults get reclassified all the time based on the nature of the injury. A victim goes and sees the doctor and the injury is worse than it is, and it gets reclassified.
Great, thank you.
So if I understood correctly, tell me if I did not, once the audit is completed, then the reclassification takes place? Or is it audit, then the records audit? Because I'm sitting up here listening, and I am thinking that it's two separate things.
It is. So a reclass could happen or a change could happen before the audit.
Okay, got it. Thank
And
you.
it could also happen after an audit.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
You want me to just keep rolling? Yeah. All right. Police cadets. The Antioch Police Department Cadet Program is a progressive and educational opportunity for young men and women between the ages of 14 and 21 who have an interest in learning about law enforcement. Our cadets are afforded the opportunity to learn more about law enforcement, the criminal justice system, and the community in which they live. Cadets are required to volunteer at least 10 hours a month. They perform various tasks such as scene security, traffic control, safety presentations, tours of the police facilities, community events, safety fairs, patrol and dispatch support, and many other law enforcement related tasks. Cadets are allowed to ride along with officers during their shift. The program is supervised by sworn personnel who offer insight into an exciting world of law enforcement. The cadets receive training each month in areas such as evidence collection, crime prevention, firearms, traffic control, community policing, and many other law enforcement related topics. Cadets also participate in a yearly competition against other police cadet programs. Eligibility requirements: to become a City of Antioch Police Cadet, candidates must be at least 14 years of age and no older than 20 at the time of application. Candidates must also maintain a 2.0 grade average, be able to volunteer 10 hours a month, and have a desire to learn about law enforcement. And if I can just add, our cadet program has been on hiatus for the last 2 years.
What are we doing to get it back off the ground?
Now that our personnel is up, we just put a posting out for cadet advisors. The cadet coordinator is going to wrap up the interviews, make a recommendation up the chain of command for the advisors, and we will look at bringing the program back. I know AOSD has reached out already about having involvement in the cadet program. So I think now we're at a point, especially now that our numbers continue to increase, where it's something that we can bring back.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. 14 is young, and I think we have like so many kids that could benefit from a program like this. So excited to see it come back, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget, it's not only, yes, it's at the police department, but there's a host of things that these young people can do at the police department, from dispatch to records to animal services. I think a lot of people think, they just are attached to the police department. They are, but there's a lot of things that happen in the police department, and I think many of the areas are overlooked: records, dispatch, and our animal services division.
Not sure if you will remember offhand, but you've been here quite some time. Well, in the time that you were here, was the cadet program running?
Yes, we had at one point in time close to 40 kids in the program.
That's exactly where I was going. That's great. And what were like demographics?
All over the place. We had everything. It was a good group.
Males and females?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Great.
I just have a quick question. The GPA is 2.0 or higher, correct?
Correct.
So what happens if that student cannot maintain that 2.0 and above? Do you put that he or she, are they placed on a probation period? Will you give them an opportunity to improve their GPA, or is that it?
No. Typically, they would be on some kind of academic probation. We would work with them, figure out what the need is, how we can help, and how we can facilitate. If there's something extra we can do or they can do through school, try to help encourage that and have them make that connection for some assistance so they can get their grades up.
Great.
In the time I've been here, I don't recall a time where that has been an issue off the top of my head.
Thank you, because that's very important to me, because some children may struggle in certain academics, and they just may need a little push, some help, some tutoring. And so I think, if they know they have an opportunity to remain in the program, that will kind of give them a reason to do better in school and with their academics. I know, for example, sports. I would always say to my children, you want to play sports, play basketball, football, cheerleading, you have to keep those grades up. And believe me, it worked.
Yeah, and the peer support in the program is awesome, because there is a lot of cross-training, there's a lot of cross-support. A lot of these young people all go to the same schools, so there's a lot of peer accountability that happens too, which is really great. I know of some of the people that put in to be cadet advisors were former cadets. I believe, and a third is in the process now to get hired. So, sorry, the music was throwing me off. I thought it was in here for a second.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
How long is the program itself? I didn't hear you mention that. Is it ongoing?
Ongoing.
Okay. So it's ongoing with a required 10 hours per month.
Correct. And that 10 hours includes every month there's a training meeting,
Right.
which is typically about 2 hours long.
Okay.
And is there like a graduation program, or is there like an advancement? Like how does it work? Do they get like, I mean, you said it's ongoing, so is there like a point to where they, I don't know, finish.
What happens? What happens when they get to a certain age? We try to
Well,
hire them.
No, no,
Yeah,
no. That's not what I was going. I figured that when they age out, you want to get them recruited, and that's why I brought it up at the last meeting. Is like, is that a way to build that recruitment pipeline?
It is,
And yeah, okay.
and it was for a couple years before it took a hiatus. We were able to hire a couple of CSOs from there, a couple of officers from there, some animal service personnel, because people's interest kind of goes. They think very focused on, oh, it's just police work, and then they come inside and they attend a couple meetings, they do a couple competitions, they're around their peers in other parts of the agency, and they're, hey, there's an animal services here I could do that's really of interest. There's a records department, there's dispatch. I think that's what's really piquing the interest from AUSD, is they asked about what that integration, especially Deer Valley we met with last week, because they're trying to do some more technical on-the-job training and programming at the high school to help kids who don't necessarily have a path, know what they want to do, but have some kind of attraction to what law enforcement or working for the city could look like.
Right.
So they thought this would be the cadet program would be a good bridge for kids who want to learn more, get exposed to more that the city has to offer in terms of employment, not only in the police department, but maybe it could grow and branch out into other aspects of the city, which would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Uh-oh. Thank you. Technical difficulties still. You guys okay to continue? Let's see.
You know, I do have one more question. Is there a particular demographic group, a group of young people that you are really recruiting? Is there a specific zone in the city of Antioch that you are targeting? That's the key word, targeting. For example, the Sycamore area. Is a officer going out there and letting the young people know that APD has this cadet program? Because many people may not know about it. Some may not, be privy to the social media or just do not know how to navigate, the system, the website to see if this program is available. So I think it's important that we let, especially those children who are considered high risk. And when I say high risk, those that have tendency to get into trouble more than others. I think it's important that the APD reaches out, to those groups of young people, especially those that are hanging out in front of Shell gas station, for example. Not to point out Shell gas station, but there are certain pockets in the city of Antioch where young men tend to congregate.
Because the program is on hiatus, there is no recruiting plan as of right now. As we get closer to relaunching the program, definitely we would work with the school district on how we wanted that recruitment to look, but there would be no problem at all recruiting in areas like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You guys want to take just a quick break to make sure that we're streaming? Can we have a motion for a recess to make sure that we're streaming properly?
I move that we take a brief technological recess until we
Thank
know
you.
we're back online.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Can we have roll call, please? We already voted. Oh, we actually haven't already voted, but we can take the recess, it's fine.
Commissioner Mitchell, Commissioner Eloquachi, Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Lacioja,
Yes.
Vice Chair Williams,
Yes.
Chair Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. Break. 6:55 PM. Thank you.
So many acronyms. No, it's all right. I should have had it here, but I'm all over the place tonight.
Calling the Antioch Police Oversight Commission meeting back to order at 6:57 PM. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Mitchell, absent. Commissioner LaQuachi, absent. Commissioner Kennedy,
Present.
Commissioner Lacioja,
Present.
Vice Chair Williams,
Here.
Chair Taylor.
Present.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll grab the next item, general procedures for patrol scheduling and routing. This was kind of vague, but I think I know what the question is. So in terms of patrol scheduling, all the officers, based on seniority, pick what team and shift that they go to. Senior side of the week, which is Tuesday through Friday, there's 3 teams. There's a days, a mids, and a graveyard. And on the weekend, it's 2 teams that work a 12.5-hour shift. So in terms of scheduling, it's your days, your mids, your nights, and on the weekend, your days or your nights. In terms of routing, so this might be kind of hard to, for those of you who've been on a ride-along, you've kind of seen it. All the officers start their shift, they have their briefing, and then they go in service, which means they're available for calls. They work the city assigned by beats, so everyone leaves briefing and they go in service and they're available for calls. If there's calls on the board, which means pending calls, a dispatcher will dispatch 1, 2, 3 officers, depending on the call, what the need is to the call. Those officers will take their route to the call. They will go there and handle the call. While they're working on that call, other officers are dispatched to other calls in the city. If an officer is not on a call, he could be working on issues in his beat, following up on crime reports, following up on extra patrols throughout his assigned area. So I think the specific question is maybe in terms of routing. There's no predetermined route that we give any of the officers. It just depends on where they're at in the city, what they're working on, and what's going on in the city, as well as where they're coming from or where they're going. So if there is an extra patrol that pops up in their district, or they're doing their own proactive extra patrol, then they will take whatever route they see fit to get there based on where they are. And same thing with a call for service, depending on the severity of the call and where they have to go in the city, will determine the route that they take to get there. Then when they handle a call, they disposition the call, which means they close it out. Then they're available for the next call if there's pending calls or for whatever else that they are working on in their beat or in their area.
Questions?
I want to make a comment. So thank you for that. And this reminds me of last week. I asked about, which officers patrol which beat, and that wasn't to jeopardize anyone's safety, obviously, while they're serving. It was to really just build community again. We know our officers, we do, but if people were interested, I just thought knowing your officer, like someone was telling me, like back in the day, we knew our officer who was on our beat, who officer that walked the beat, and they had a sense of community and trust with the officers, and so that's why I asked that question last week, and I understand why we can't share names and things like that, but I'm pretty sure if people wanted to know, they could know.
Yeah, and it had
Right.
nothing to do with the sharing of the names. I think it's been no secret.
Yeah.
Geographical policing is something that I grew up with in this industry. We have talked about geographical policing going back to the beats. The problem is our staffing doesn't allow it right now.
Oh,
There are not, every team on the senior side is staffed with supervisors and officers. In the event, and this is why I say our staffing isn't there yet, in the event there's a sick call or a court call, people are kind of getting bounced around because the teams are under minimums. And it's the same way on the weekends. That is still a plan that we would like to see happen as our staffing numbers come up. We would like to go back to the geographical policing model. For that same reason, people know who's in their beat. Officers tend to sign up in the same districts and beats that they're familiar with, that they know their people in, and it makes it easier for them to connect.
right.
So yes, the plan is hopefully to get back there sooner
All
rather
right,
than later.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna roll backwards to item A. Of the 52 open cases, are any of those expected to go outside of the year review?
Yes,
Okay, do you know how many?
just two, and they're related, and it's no fault of ours. The outside investigator they were assigned to had a series of unfortunate personal events back to back, and we just got notified by the firm last week that they were probably not going to make the 1-year deadline. And there's some specifics that I can't talk about in here about that, but the case, regardless of what happens, we will take appropriate action when the case is done.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do you know what is the busiest times, I guess, during the week? Is it the weekday or the weekends? Saturdays or Sundays? Because from what I see, it seems like in Antioch, Saturdays is where I hear a lot of sirens and everything going on.
It just depends. We get asked this question a lot. It depends on the time of the year, the month of the year, and what's going on in the city. I think it's no secret our busiest time of the year is when school's out. We see a little spike as we get into the holiday season. The thefts go up, assaults go up in the holiday times, but typically the late afternoon, early evening is relatively busy, and then depending on the day of the week, I wouldn't be able to tell you Tuesday at 4:30 is the busiest day, but afternoon, typically when school's out, when people are off at work, there's a higher congestion of people in and around the city, and the call volume goes up a little bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all? Is there any public comment?
Yes, we have one
Thank you,
public
Chief.
comment. Frank Sterling. Thank you.
Hey, y'all, how y'all doing? Just figured I'd be down here to participate with y'all. And I was just wondering if there's like some way to break down the internal affairs, like pie chart maybe, so we could see like, well, how many are the animal complaints? How many are the dispatchers? How many are specific to officers or whatever, however you would list it. I know you can't do the names or whatever, but just like a more breakdown of the pie chart, that'd be cool to see. That way we as a community could actually know like where is it? You know, is it happening still? And then one thing that always concerns me nowadays with kids getting in with the cars, like who are they getting in with? So I'd hope there'd be like a proper screening process for the officers that are leading the cadets, because we wouldn't really want it to be like an extreme example I could use would be Rick Hoffman, who I don't know if he's still around doing stuff, but that would be terrible in my opinion if he was driving around with kids and teaching them things. But you know, who might have just squeaked out of the text thing, we don't know. So really, like, who are they riding around with at this young, impressionable age? What are they being taught? Like, what are the rules about being, you know, a cadet leader? You know, certain things you may or may not be able to do. I don't know, so I'm just kind of wondering about that. And yeah, I'd be curious just to be careful, like, who they're going out there into the streets with, in my opinion. So that would be it. Just thanks for the report, so we could all try to pay attention what's going on and be a part of it with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
We do have another public comment. Crystal Law, please.
I have never been to one of these meetings before, so forgive me if I'm not saying it correctly. One of my comments that I really wanted to make was to see if, we, you know, on Sycamore, we have, you know, right there at the plaza, and we get the police department that comes down, you know, in the morning time. And it's, you know, great that they're there sometimes, but if we can just get them there during the evening time on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're going to be pulling up on Lemon Tree, Pepper Tree, and Manzanita anyway, so you might as well just sit in the plaza and wait for the phone call. I mean, I'm laughing about it. It's not funny, but it is, because you have to make jokes, you know, when it's just too much. Honestly, also not sure what's really happening or how long the highway patrol is going. I forgot how long, and I'm also going to do this at the police or at the city council, but I'm not sure how long the highway patrol is going to be here. So I'm just wanted to ask to see how long. They're just so rude and disrespectful. It's just disgusting. And we already have too much stuff going on. And so I'm just curious to know how long. And then that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
No further comments. Thank you.
Discussion?
Yes. I had heard the comments, and something just came to my mind, and it's finding out what the current police presence is like currently right now. I know when I drive by there, I don't see anyone present in that parking lot.
They're meaning Sycamore.
Sycamore corridor, yeah, Sycamore corridor. Also, I have seen the CHP circulating, you know, driving around in the city of Antioch. I would like to know, what are they doing other than driving around throughout the city of Antioch? Are they issuing citations, speeding tickets? So because I pay attention to everything, and I know I've seen CHP as recently as 2 weeks ago. So, and my question was, why are they here? We have our police officers, you know, we have APD. So, you know, that's just something that I am interested in knowing about.
Is that a hot finger, sir?
I'll wait.
And then also, let me also add this. I think it's also important for us to know who will be working with the cadets when the program reestablishes again.
Yeah, I think that's something that can be like visited in regards to the advisors that the chief mentioned that are going through the higher advancement phase right now, selection phase right now. And then I don't know, your question's probably for city manager in regards to like what other enforcement agencies we're working with, like highway patrol. But I'm sure that they're here because we don't have a lot of officers. So they're here to assist. Hopefully they're not treating folks brutally, but I'm sure that's the reason why.
And the chief can answer that. When people are here, that's a different protocol. We have mutual aid. Highway Patrol has its own jurisdiction in certain times and ways and areas, so the chief can answer specific to what's going on to the best of his ability without jeopardizing any of our.
What was the first question?
How long will CHP be in town? What are they doing?
So CHP, so there's several task force that exist within the county already. And if you're seeing CHP in and around town, it's probably because they are working in response to one of the task force, whether it be one of the stolen vehicle task force or the Office of Neighbor, all the acronyms, I'm trying to get them right. The Office of Traffic Safety Grant, which they are doing speed enforcement. Sometimes they partner with us, sometimes they don't. The thing with CHP, they are a statewide agency. They don't always necessarily call agencies. Hey, a couple of people are going to be in and around the area. They could be in a neighboring city and drift over. We see that a lot. It could have been that, but last week was VSET, so that's the Stolen Vehicle Task Force. It was on the east end of the county. Kokomo is the same thing. That's the motorcycle officers that do their enforcement, and they pick a different part of the county once a month, and it's CHP as well as Pittsburgh, Brentley, Oakley, Richmond, Concord, San Ramon. It's all the agencies in the county participates in those. So if you are seeing CHP, especially last week, it was most likely VSET. And we had close to 20 officers from different agencies here in VSET on this side of the county. So it's typically when we see CHP and other agencies in our city is when they're doing things like that.
Thank you. And so who do we have to ask or go to make sure they're treating our residents well?
The
With
CHP?
respect?
Yeah, I would say.
I just wanted to get that on record.
If there are complaints, to be made, if it's with an Antioch police officer, of course, the complaint would be submitted to the city. However, any complaints that have to do with CHP that would be submitted to the city, the best we could do is forward it to them, but we cannot, that's still not a, that's not a replacement for actually the affected person making the complaint themselves directly to the agency, because even if we forward it, we can't warrant that it's gonna be dealt with, that it's gonna be taken. It's just pretty much, we shoot it to wherever it goes, and we don't have any control of it beyond that.
Yeah, due to the trauma in our city, I think that APOC should write a strongly worded letter to the, I mean, it's just fair. I mean, you can't come to a town that's been harassed by law enforcement and then expect people to be okay with it and not have any action taken. So that's when I hear things like that, I just want to make sure that people know that it's not Antioch Police Department mistreating and being rude to people. It's CHP, and I wanted folks at home to know that that is something that is not Antioch's, doing. So
Right, and
thank you,
especially
Chief.
especially in the climate that we are in right now, I appreciate the traffic enforcement part of it. I really do, because we have a lot of erratic drivers out there in the city here in our city. But I was just concerned when I saw the CHP, and my understanding was in the past that when we saw a CHP, it was if most of our officers were unavailable, for example, attending a conference or on site or something. Because I know one time there was a lot of CHP vehicles in the city in our city once before. Then also Brentwood also had assisted at one time.
Mutual aid is very different than a task force.
Yes.
So many times over the last 2 years, not just us, but every agency on this end of the county, there is an MOU in the county, and agencies are allowed to ask for mutual aid. Depending on that level and the request, it could be everyone to include CHP. Most often or not, it's our local agencies, Pittsburgh, Brentwood and Oakley, who respond out and help. But yeah, mutual aid is very different. When we call for mutual aid for like a sideshow, for instance, everybody comes because they know how big of an ordeal that is. To include CHP, who is, other than Oakland PD, the only agency that has a sideshow task force. So they coordinate a lot with the cities when they're tracking certain behavior, certain advertisements, to work in cohesion with us on those large-scale events.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I would also just note that CHP does have jurisdiction statewide, so they do not need to notify, they would need to notify us if they're going to be doing something here, because they do have jurisdiction. They have primary jurisdiction over the freeways, over state-owned properties, but by virtue of being a CHP officer, they can do enforcement actions anywhere in the state, regardless of where it's located.
And they do have, in many of the smaller communities where there is no police department, they have jurisdiction in those areas as well, whether contracted or not, in unincorporated areas of California.
Thank you.
I-
Thank y'all for
Just-
addressing that public comment. 'Cause,
I realize this is probably out of order as far as an agenda item, but it might be helpful at some point to get an overview of some of the different task forces that we're participating in and/or that might be here in Antioch for a particular reason. I think that might be helpful for commission and for the public. And I also think that at any given time, I'll just use the example in Pittsburgh over the weekend where they had the fentanyl, we'll call it the
The
bus.
hazmat.
but-
It was the
Look, the bus.
hazmat.
But
Yeah.
it ultimately, yeah, so it ultimately wound up being a hazmat and then, lots of different agencies being called in and just kind of helping folks understand that in any given situation, folks might need to be called in for help. So you're going to see somebody that you may or may not be familiar
Mutual aid.
with. So just, that may be helpful.
Future agenda items.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I do want to say the idea of maybe a pie chart of the internal affairs
Yeah, that was a great idea.
complaints, I think is a good idea. And that's something we should
I agree.
definitely look into designing, or they should having designed.
We can just shoot an email and ask for like a more detailed breakdown of exactly what was reported on this evening, because
Yeah.
I do think that was a great suggestion.
And then, yeah. So, I mean, I'm questioning, like, since, the busiest time is when school is, or possibly when school is out and the holidays, do we have, I know we still don't have our numbers up, but are we having more officers on duty around that time? I guess that's a question for Chief again. Thank you. Getting your steps in today.
Throughout the year, throughout the months, weeks, days, we are constantly monitoring the crime trends and reassessing our personnel deployment as needed.
Okay.
Yeah?
No, that's a good way to answer it. Thank you.
Anything else? Don't look at Devin too long, Lord. All right. So we are good to move on to the item 4-2, general law versus charter city, differences in comparison.
All right, that's mine. Good evening, everyone. I have a PowerPoint that if we can get that up on there we go. All right, so there's a request of this committee that there be a discussion, kind of an education on, I guess, kind of the differences between a general law and charter city, what those powers are, why they are, and I think particularly how it affects this commission. So first, sorry. Okay, so first, by way of just giving some background, I want to start by just a brief legal lesson, and that's on the hierarchy of laws here in the country. So the highest law that we have is the U.S. Constitution. Every single law that's made, whether it be federal or state, must adhere to the U.S. Constitution. Then the next level down is the state constitutions, which have to comply with the U.S. Constitution, but otherwise, as long as it complies with that, can do whatever they want. Then the next level down is state law, which is, you know, the penal code, the government code, all the state, kind of all the statewide laws that we have. Then it's local or municipal law. Those would be the city ordinances, so such as our municipal code. And so, since the municipal code is the lowest tier that there is, the municipal code has to adhere to state law, California Constitution, and U.S. Constitution. State law needs to adhere to California Constitution and U.S. Constitution. California Constitution has to adhere to U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution is the U.S. Constitution. There is nothing that's supreme to that. Now, the way that we have cities that have any type of authority in the state is through the California State Constitution, and there's two general enabling provisions. The first is California Constitution Article 11, Section 7, where it says, a county or city may make or enforce within its limits all local, police, sanitary, and other ordinances and regulations not in conflict with general laws. So that applies, that's like the basic ground level, and that is for what we call general law cities, such as Antioch, such as many other cities in the state that do not have a charter. Now, when you have a charter, you get certain privileges by going through that, because the charter is kind of like a constitution for the city. It is an overarching legal framework that can be adhered to, and of course that still has to be compatible with the California State Constitution. But the California State Constitution allows certain privileges once you've gone through that process. That is seen in Article 11, Section 5. And the big thing to go through, I mean, there's a lot of words there. Essentially, what everything turns on is the so-called Municipal Affairs Clause, which is why I have Municipal Affairs bolded there. And, you know, the Constitution and lots of case law, we're talking over 100 years of case law, have kind of said that cities, there are two different types of affairs. There's matters of statewide concern, which are things that are somewhat obvious that you would think of, but also the state has, over time, made other things statewide concerns. For example, housing used to be a municipal affair. Housing is now a statewide concern. But when you think about certain things with like water rights or environmental issues, those are things that have been found to be statewide concerns. And, you know, that's a discussion that can go on for literal hours. So I'm going to kind of sidestep that. And we're going to kind of move towards what are municipal affairs. So there are 4 things that are kind of outlined in the Constitution as municipal affairs. That's the Constitution, the regulation, and government of a city police force, the sub-government in all or part of a city, conduct of city elections, and then the election/appointment of municipal officers and employees. Since these are so-called municipal affairs, charter cities are allowed to mandate how they want to do those things, kind of free from state oversight. General law cities, on the other hand, do not get to do that. General law cities must comply with whatever the general law states. And the general law covers nearly everything in some way, shape, or form. You know, there are other things that have been established as municipal affairs. That's why I included attachment B there with you. That's a very handy guide. I use it quite often to see like what are differences between charter and general law cities, and it kind of goes through some of the areas that are covered there. For example, there's big differences when it comes to contracting. the type of contracting a general law city is allowed to do as opposed to a charter city or zoning. But once again, those aren't things that they're not really necessarily the purview of this committee. They're just there so then you have a little bit more background. Now, as I said before, the municipal affairs provision applies only to charter cities and does not affect general law cities. There is case law that's there. I cited one of the cases in my staff report, which I believe was, sorry, let me just check. Oh yeah, the City of San Mateo versus the Railroad Commission. As you can see, that's a case from 1937. This is a area of case law that goes back a very long time, and so it's very well established. And so, you know, since it only applies to charter cities, in the inverse, it means that general law cities are bound by the provisions of the general law, otherwise known as state law. General law city may not enact an ordinance that conflicts with state law in any regards. So there's always, that's kind of saying that in a general law city, state law will always preempt the municipal code. So if there is a conflict there, the state law is always going to take precedence over it. Now, what does that mean for this committee? The area of policing is already very well regulated by state law. And I have some of the sections there. So we have Government Code Section 83631 et sec, which is a list of different, I believe there's 7 or 8 different provisions of that government code section, which outlines, so that addresses the control of the police department, the appointment of officers, and various other personnel issues. So anything, for example, one of the things that one of those code sections says is that the police chief has control of the police department. Now, a charter city could put the police department under the direct control of a city manager or the direct control of even the mayor in certain regards. But general law city cannot. Then there is Government Code Section 330 et sec, that's otherwise known as POBAR. The Public Safety Officers Procedural Bill of Rights, that controls a lot of the disciplinary issues and the protections that are afforded there. It's also why, you know, when there's certain information that either the commission or the public may be requesting, we cannot turn it over because public safety officers have been afforded these protections under, and this isn't just through the government code, it's also through the California State Constitution. And then there's, the last one is Penal Code Section Code, and I put Part 4, because Part 4 has dozens of different penal code sections, and that really regulates the police down to what the what the uniforms need to look like. All of those matters. So that is kind of why our ordinance was drafted the way it was, because there's only so much freedom that a general law city has in regulating the police force outside of what is already created. There are some other commissions. For example, the big one is the Planning Commission. That is one that is enabled by statute. And that's kind of the one that everybody looks at because planning commissions are somewhat quasi-legislative. They are able to make decisions that are going to affect the city, but that's all something created by general law. There is nothing that enables police commissions to that same degree, which is why you generally see charter cities having police commissions that have a lot more power. For example, Oakland or other ones, but those are all charter cities, not general law cities here. So I hope that that kind of gives an explanation to the commission and to the public as to what kind of some of the background into the ordinance, why the decisions were made to kind of craft it the way it is, and, you know, show that we're not just trying to be difficult or obstinate when it comes to talking about the powers of the commission. These are all things that we want to make sure we're staying in line with state law. Because if we are going outside of there, it opens the city up to all different types of liability, and it could come down to invalidating actions taken by the commission because they don't have that authority. And so that's all that I have. I'm happy after public comment to answer whatever questions the commission may have.
Is there public comment?
No public comments, thank you.
Discussion? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I had a question about, I don't know if you mentioned that, it went over my head, but how does a city become a charter? Like what's...
So it's, without going too much into the weeds, there's a lot that has to be undertaken. Usually there's a charter committee that's formed by the city council where they go through and then they start looking into what is going to be done there. Eventually, at the end of the day, it has to go before the voters. So it would have to be a ballot proposition, and then the public would vote on whether or not they want to become a charter. And charters, there are some charters that are extremely detailed. Some of them aren't very detailed. Kind of like, our Constitution. It's there are certain things where it looks to be very detailed, but as we see from case law and from the lawsuits that come about, there's always arguments that can be had. So just to say that to become a charter city, there's usually a committee a review committee that goes through and does research into what type of charter the city wants to be, what provisions are going to be included, how detailed it's going to be. Then that's got to be presented to the public so then they understand, and then it has to go to the voters. It's usually, I believe it's usually a 2 to 3 year process to get everything all done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So part of the reason that I had raised this and had asked for some clarification is I do think that sometimes members of the public have a different perception of what power and authority we may or may not have. So I appreciate the information that you've shared tonight. So I think just for additional, I guess, specificity, we don't have the power, for example, to receive complaints, whereas a commission in a charter city might actually have that authority, correct?
Yes.
We don't have the power to advise on discipline. We don't investigate complaints. We are not responsible for monitoring internal investigations. We cannot monitor internal affair files, and we can't mandate that those complaints be forwarded to us, right? And so I think that, and I just list those because, like I said, in conversations I've had with members of the public, I do think that sometimes people perceive that there are things that we can or should be able to do that because we're a general law city, it's not in our purview. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And as I said, just because the area of police practices in particular is already very, very well regulated, there could be some little realm where maybe the commission could have more power, but it's not in the realms that I believe that you're talking about or that it seems the public would be coming to you about. So when it comes to how investigations need to be handled, you know what, that's even something that even charter cities have to comply with state law on, because there's a constitutional portion of it where it comes to, you know, the Police Officer Bill of Rights. That's one of the things that regulates how fast they need to go, things of that nature. So, you know, here I think one of the what the city was kind of acutely aware of in crafting the ordinance was we want to make sure that this is a commission that does have at least some power and that's why it's kind of an advisory thing where since everyone here is a member of the community who has kind of been selected by city council to sit on this, and then you can advise city council as to what the issues are, but the city council cannot delegate those powers to you. Because it's not really, since we're a general city, they're not really their powers to delegate in that regard.
Thank you very much.
Antioch was established when, in 18, anybody know what the year Antioch was established? So,
A long time ago.
right, right. So I assume, reading this, that when the city of Antioch was established, it was established as a general law city, correct?
I am not aware of Antioch ever having a charter. There is an interesting thing where there were cities who had charters before this whole municipal affairs thing
Okay.
came about, but since Antioch never had a charter, I didn't go too deep into my research on that. But to my knowledge, Antioch has never been a charter city from the moment that it was established.
Right, right. So we are a advisory commission, but however, I'm wondering if we are in alignment, if this commission is in alignment with the ordinance. And I hope I'm not getting off the topic, but I'm wondering if we are following the ordinance right now. Because if we don't have the same power, same authority as the charter city, because we are a general law city, and I know what our ordinance says. So if we are a advisory commission, why are we not doing that? Just that. We have made some recommendations. We did make some recommendations. We did that. But, and if Chair Taylor want to go into further, answer
No,
my
I'm just gonna
question
ask.
more into
Yeah.
details, I would appreciate it. I just thought that I would, put that
No,
on the table.
I
Thank
definitely.
you.
Well, I think that when it comes down to whether or not the commission is in line with the ordinance, I believe that, that's one of the reasons why City Manager Scott's here. One of the reasons why I'm here is to kind of help make sure that the commission stays there. And I believe that in general, yes, that is the case. So when you think about, there's the recommendations that are made. For example, the policy recommendations. That is the policy recommendations and policy review. That is a key integral part of the mandate there, and that is something that the commission is doing. There's also I believe, the next item on tonight's agenda is the report, and the report to City Council, so City Council can look at, and then they can decide what needs to be, what they're going to kind of instruct City Manager, instruct the police department to take care of after that. So that's part of it too. There's also the community outreach function of it, which is being enacted every time we have a regular meeting. Because part of it is to give a forum for the public to come and make public comment about, policing challenges. There's a great evidence of that happening tonight with the discussion that was had about CHP. So that is another key function here. So I do believe that, in general, yes, the commission is acting in conformance with the enabling ordinance. And in general, I think that it has been. Of course, there are certain times where it seems like there may be some confusion there. But that's kind of unfortunately, that's part of, when you start getting into the legal realm, there's always going to be shades of gray. There's always going to be parts where it's confusing. And, if there is anything good that's come out of, I'm not to say that the whole text message scandal should have never happened in the first place. However, it did bring to light these things, and now there are other organizations that do have that are kind of overlooking what's happening here. For example, in the audience we have Mr. Sapal, our monitor, our consultant for this DOJ stuff, and if there were to be some issues where APOC was not to be acting in accordance, we would hear about that. And we haven't, as far as I'm aware, we have not received any updates or any feedback from either the US DOJ or Cal DOJ that we are not acting in conformance with what we've set up.
We are in compliance. No, good question, and thank you for answering that. I agree. I was actually just going to point out that, like, we have the responsibility to report out annually, and that is the next agenda item. So, Any other discussion? Good. Thank you for bringing this forward. I appreciate this topic. We can then move forward to 4-3, the preparation of the 2025 APOC annual report. Is that staff presentation? Yeah, I was like, what's that? So I believe us three were present last year for the annual report. Essentially what that looked like was the different ad hocs coming together, drafting their individual reports, definitely working with the chief of police to make sure that what we were requesting as recommendations aligned with them. And then once it comes together as a total, we present it here. And if everyone is in agreement, then it can be presented at council. So basically putting together all the work that we've done for the year and for the term, making sure the chief has no problems with it, and then presenting here, then council. And I'm looking calendar-wise, I think last year we presented in November-ish. So correct, because our terms end in November. Do you guys feel comfortable with having a draft ready in November?
Having a draft ready in November?
Correct, draft to present here.
I think that's fine. It may be ambitious. I think that second meeting in November is the meeting that's going to be held at Genesis Church.
Correct.
And then I'm assuming that we would present that to the city council at their meeting on December 9th.
That would be up to when it would become
I'm just,
agendized.
I mean, if we
Yeah.
have to do it before the end of the year, they only have one meeting in December, I think.
Yeah, so, and I think the way that this happened last year and the way that this generally goes is that, yes, you would come forward with the draft so that it can be discussed by the commission in full, and then you guys will decide on to what the final thing is going to look like. That will then be drafted, and then it'll be presented at the first meeting, or I guess the only meeting in December.
Is there a particularly preferred way that we would share information with you, or you and the vice chair, for information to be included, or how would you like to?
Good question.
Do
Yeah,
that.
so once you guys draft your section of your report, that's basically how I included it last year. I literally included like by the ad hoc recommendation, so you guys can share and say this is what we're reporting. We sat down with chief, went over our areas of concern and recommendations based on that. We agree on that and/or when the draft comes out in total. But yeah, I think email was fine, right?
Yep.
Around email. And that meeting for council is December 8th?
Tuesday, the 9th.
The 9th. Oh, I'm looking at
Yeah, we
Monday.
just ask that you have your staff report to us the week prior by the Tuesday. So what date is that?
Second. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions on that? Public comment?
No public comment on this.
All right, cool. And then we can move forward to public comments. And I'm sure we have public comments, right? Yeah.
Yes, we have one speaker, Frank Sterling. Thank you.
Excuse me. Hey again. I just want to come up and mention that kind of what happened last week with the amendments and all that. And I think not a lot of people made it down tonight, but I know I've been talking to a bunch of them. We're hoping that you guys can like take a double check on what the amendments are. I know I missed that meeting and I didn't watch that one on YouTube. A lot of times if I'm not here, I'll be trying to watch it on YouTube, but I don't get to all of them. And I'm not upset, but I just wish I would have been to that one so I could have been a part of that and we could have had like a more like in-depth discussion. People could have been more prepared for it. So I was just hoping, and I know the rest of the folks that I meet with regularly to discuss these issues are hoping that you guys could take a second look at that and like, you know, get more prepared on that topic, because a lot of the stuff people were looking at were like, wait, how's this happening, you know? And how did this become a suggestion? And then just, of course, see how you all could fit in on the suggestion box or whatever they were doing with the amendments, you know? And maybe bring it back for the public again to have another round of comments, because I understand it. I wasn't there, so I don't know if anybody else really showed up at that one. I didn't go back and watch it. I think some of our folks went back and watched that meeting where it was brought up the one time. So, yeah, I think I was glad to see you out here, and the people that did come out and speak about it. I think that people just want a second take at that so we could really contribute and really see what's going on, and hopefully that you guys could take a real good look at it, since it kind of like, I don't want to say slipped by, but it kind of got by and no one really paid too much attention. So yeah, just take a second look and pay some more attention to that one, and you know, what is it that you guys really want, and you know, what other suggestions can be made that you all want to see, you know, stuff like that. So I'll leave it there because I know you guys got a little bit more of a night and I got to get back after this. But thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
No further public comments, thank you.
Cool. And for our ad hoc committee report out, this commission readiness?
Yes, so probably the biggest topic to have a quick discussion on this evening. You know, we've been working on getting our training started. And so we discussed what options may be available, even if we are in a position that the ordinance changes by the 1st of January. Both January and February are months where we have that third Monday holiday. So essentially, the ad hoc is recommending that we start our training on Monday, January 26th. The 3 dates are in the packet, so it would be Monday, January 26th, Monday, February 23rd, and then Monday, March 16th. We're hoping that by March, the new ordinance is in place, and that would be the open Monday potentially in the month. APD is recommending a 6 p.m. start time. You've got the list of training topics in the report for session 1, 2, and 3. The other thing that's, I think, important to remind everybody is that in the event somebody's unable to attend, they're going to be recorded, so people can come back and pick those up whenever it's convenient for them. But I think that the biggie is we're ready to get this off the ground, and if we can kind of allow APD to put pins in these dates, that would be a great step toward getting us rolling on this.
This looks great.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue to work with APD and finalize these. And it's also important to note that these first 3 are all 2-hour sessions, so it would be from 6 to 8. Thanks very much.
And the location would be
We're, I believe it will be APD, but we'll confirm that as it gets closer.
Is there any public comment?
No public comments, thank you.
Okay, upcoming future agenda items. We'll start with Commissioner Kennedy.
So my suggestion was going to be bringing the ordinance back. One of the things that I would like to suggest is that we contemplate a joint study session with the city council. I think that would that would allow for several opportunities. One is, I think that it would eliminate the perception that the council and the commission are working in opposition as opposed to together.
I agree.
And I think that it would also allow the public to be in attendance. And
Transparency.
in general, we could allow a lot of birds with one stone if we took that approach.
I agree with that. How would we go about setting that up?
Now, because, you know, what we're kind of formally starting the ordinance writing process, it would be if council were to direct the city attorney's office or city staff to bring it back to the commission, then we'd bring it back. But absent that, I think that the focus is more on just being able to get the draft out there. Of course, the ordinance is going to be, the first reading is going to be a public hearing, which means there's going to be the extended notice period, plus there's going to be the extended comment period, you know, the normal hearing procedure that's going to be there. So kind of absent a directive from city council to bring it back before the commission for further consideration, because since it's now kind of in their purview, they provide direction to city staff, and that direction is expected to be followed. So if their direction changes, then that would change things, but absent that, we will not be presenting it for another discussion or for input again, because we've already received input from the decision maker.
So essentially, we can send emails in the background to council to request if they're open to having discussion.
Okay.
And I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, may I just ask a question? Chair Taylor, I thought that at one point we requested that it be brought back.
We did, and we received the same answer that the city
Okay.
attorney just gave us.
Okay, because I've got a lot of questions, including from my own family members, about how did I feel? And I'm not comfortable with the recommendations that had went forward to the city council. And it's,
I appreciate, and I know I just want us to stay on the
Yes.
agenda topic.
Right,
Mhm.
so if we could have some dialogue, that would be greatly appreciated.
I agree, and please submit exactly what you're saying to the council, because basically what the city attorney is explaining is that because the item was discussed here in July, once they submitted that over to council, and council then has given them direction, there is no need for them to bring it back before us because they have already been advised. And so
Right.
it is now up to us to voice our concerns to council, and then if council gives direction to city staff
Right,
that we then can bring it back forward, then
Okay.
that is where we'll be at, but
but
that's
it,
kind of
but
where
it
we're at.
is gonna be made clear that we did ask for it to be brought back.
Yeah, I'm asking for you to do it independently.
Yes,
To
yeah, but I'm
council.
talking about prior to,
It was on the dais.
yes,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm. Are there any other items to be brought forward for the agenda? Okay.
Oh, this is my public comment item, future agenda item?
Correct.
Is it my time?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were moving on without.
Not yet. So you brought forth the ordinance. We definitely need to bring forth the draft of the report.
When will we, I'm assuming that, at November,
Do you want to do it on the 17th versus?
oh, no, I was going to say on November 17th, I'm assuming we'll do report outs on NACO.
Correct. Unless you guys.
What date is
Full.
that again? November 3rd?
3rd. Do you feel like you'll have enough time?
I will do the best that I can, because I'll just be getting back that day from Atlanta, so I'll do the best that I can. I'll do the best that I can.
I think that the November 3rd date, if we want to have some information that is even outlines in writing, that might be pushing the envelope.
Me too. I think that's kind of tight. We can definitely wait to report out for NACO to the 17th meeting. So items that we had from the past that still can come up. We still have not had. No, but you can bring it forward if you would like. We still haven't had any reporting out on items that were brought up in regards to the unhoused sweeps.
Did we already talk about the overview of different task force as an agenda item? Did you say that already, Susan, or was that earlier?
I mentioned that earlier, that if we could get an overview of the different task forces.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote that down.
We had also mentioned an update on the public safety partnership, the latest.
Oh, the PSP information.
Yes.
That's, I believe I noted that you said you were okay with getting information submitted. Did you want a presentation?
Oh, I thought we were gonna do like kind of an update on the latest release.
Yeah, what I noted was, I remember you brought it up, and then I remember asking, were you okay with having information disseminated in the background?
Okay.
Would you like a presentation?
I would just kind of like to know where we are, because I know that there's been conversation about a survey and about some other thing. I'm just trying to get a better sense of what the latest release
Yeah.
was. Members of the public asked about a meeting that took place, and we really didn't get a whole lot of background on that, so that's my request.
You can note the request.
Mm-hmm. So currently I have two for all of us, because we cannot agendize it, for us to do our own outreach to council in regards to our ordinance, an update on policy behind the unhoused sweeps, overview of our different task force. Is there anything else? And then this will go, like, it will coincide with what we have as running, whatever the city's able to put.
Okay, so at the last meeting we had, which was dated October 6th, I
Mhm.
had,
School to prison pipeline.
yeah, crime data. So I know Flock partnering me with APD. I saw that that's going to be, a presentation will be done. But I thought we also talked about a presentation regarding the crime.
I think that's what they did today, the statistics on the crime. That's where that came from.
Okay, Internal Affairs investigation.
That was B,
Oh,
item B, after the internal, there was no slideshow.
okay,
He just discussed it after
Okay.
he did it. Yeah, it was item B on the,
okay, right.
I did want to see, I remember we had the REACH presentation, I had some specific questions about demographics of people in the program.
yeah, they asked for an email.
They did,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay, so I'll write that down myself.
Yep, so I will definitely, based on what we have running and the 3 new items suggested, unless there's anything else that y'all want to bring forward now. Good? Okay. And then I will open it up for public comments.
We have one speaker, Frank Sterling.
Yeah, I heard Commissioner Lacey Oha kind of mention it briefly just a moment ago, but I'd be curious to know if you guys have another presentation from the chief about our cloud computing, if we are using the Flock system, if the people's Ring doorbells are tied into those, who has access to that data, and can you control that data? Or anyway, so if you want to answer, I didn't want to make it I don't know what the rules are about bringing it up and talking about it at the same time. But yeah, just curious if that is or isn't, and then if they're using the cloud system, Palantir system, if that's part of it. And the reason I ask is because people know that they've been sharing data with ICE, and there's about to be a big surge of ICE officers coming to the Bay Area. It could trickle over into Concord, which may come closer to Antioch. And is ICE using the data from the license plate readers? Can Antioch police control it if they are or aren't? And if they're using like cloud data systems to store the data, who has access to the data system that's collected? All right.
Just noting that that's part of our running. We requested it, so it's already part of our running. All righty, is there any other discussion on this?
I just want to note that the full presentation on the city's cameras and flock will be given next week at the city council meeting.
Great, thank you. Antioch Police Oversight Commissioner report outs. We have 3 minutes each. Do you want to report out?
Had the opportunity to attend the violence prevention workshop last week, which I thought was really very productive. And then also I had the opportunity to meet with the downtown property owner regarding some concerns that they have with activity in the parking lot here on 2nd Street across from City Hall. Apparently there's some issues during the day that keeps patrons, or makes patrons uncomfortable to have to come and park in that parking lot. There's also some apartment residents that apparently are having some issues also. So I gave them some suggestions regarding the downtown business watch that's going to be developing, that's going to be created. And then I'll also check and see if there's any other information the chief or the captain might have to share with them.
Thank you. You have a report?
Well, I attended the same event that Commissioner Kennedy attended, and I just thought it was very informative, and I look forward to attending the next event. And what I did most of my outreach or outside of the city of Antioch, so it was very rewarding. And I can tell you that we are making an impact here in the city of Antioch. And I was somewhere, somebody said something to me, and I'm trying to figure out, where do I know you from? And I started thinking, okay. But that's all I have.
Commissioner Williams?
I also attended that event very, very late, but I was there. Glad y'all all learned something, and I had the opportunity to go sit in with dispatch with our chair at APD, which is a very, very eye-opening experience for someone who has made calls to 911 before, just out of different situations, but to sit in the room and in real time and hear the calls come in and the different types of calls and the coordination of the staff, even though they're very small staff, and they work together so well. And I was talking to them about how we can get more people to be recruited who would be interested in this job, because it is very high stress and tension. So we were talking about I'm forgetting her name. It was.
I'm bad with names.
I wanted to shout the staff out. They did an amazing job.
Montserrat Cabral?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But shout out to Montserrat.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, the
She put it
APD
together.
dispatch. Yeah.
Stacy.
Stacy was not there. Jen, it was
No,
Jen.
Was it Jen?
Yeah,
Yeah, and so
thank you.
just shout out to them. Thank you. So we wanted to talk about doing some realistic videos to bring people in, to make it, we have those videos online where it's like, oh, what's your emergency? And they're like, I'm stuck, my cat's stuck in a tree. It's like, no, what really happens needs to be seen to the public so they know what they're getting themselves into when they do want to get this job. And it might scare people off, but it might bring people in, I think. So That's one of my experiences I had in the past couple weeks. So, thank you.
Like all of the other commissioners, I was also at the event. I think it was very well put together, so good job to the city. Good job to Montserrat. The questions that were asked at each of the roundtables, when you listened, it was very eye-opening to hear the split in the city out loud. Like literally, you could hear people from one side, District 1 or District 2, District 3, District 4, say, I feel completely safe in the city versus people saying, I feel that, you know, I can be harmed at any given time. And the other questions that were asked there were, you know, what is your relationship like with the police department? And the same half, you know, same thing, you can see the half, the split of I have great relationships with them versus I do not talk to them at all. And so it was very apparent that there's work to do and that we have to find a way to get one half of our city where the other half is at. Great event, as stated. We also had a good, fun football day where the chief and several officers came out and played football with my babies over at Antioch High School. Mind Elevated Game Accelerated is their team. They are 5-time national champions. And I believe they won against the officers. I couldn't tell because it was kind of all over the place. But, but I will say they were sweating at the end. I had several commissioners come out, Commissioner Kennedy and Commissioner Alaquachi and her family came out. So it was super fun. As Devin mentioned, we sat in dispatch and we were invited over to Animal Services, so that's next. And then I will eventually, what is the thing called where you, the interactive? I will eventually be doing that. See how I do not have aim, but yeah. Huh? The interactive simulator. I will be signing up to do that. That is my report out. Is there any public comment?
No public comments, thank you.
Staff?
No staff communication, thank you.
Our next meeting date is November 3rd, 2025, 6:30 p.m. here. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Or no?
Wait, there was that one thing. No, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. Commissioner Mitchell, absent. Commissioner Alaquachi, absent. Commissioner Kennedy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lacioja,
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams,
Yes.
Chair Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Mitchell and Alaquachi absent at 8:08. Thank you.
Oh, no. I was like, are we going to leave?